Hello, this is Thomas Boy, and we finally, eventually end the model series, but with CGI faces and CGI elements to the show. The last model season of Thomas. Alright, without ado, let's begin. Thomas and the Billboard is a good episode, and well, although Diesel doesn't do pretty much, so it gets an A. No higher than that. Steady Eddie is one of Edward's better episodes from the hit era. Um, and yeah, I like the part where he just takes every shortcut to get his water wheel back and beats Gordon in the scrapyards. Yeah, I've already made a Thomas and Friends commentaries video of Steady Eddie. If you haven't watched that, please watch that. It's really good. Anyway, this episode gets an A plus. Rosie's Funfair special is honestly just as good. But if there's one nitpick, how did Rosie not know that the couplings were breaking? Sounds a little strange, but B plus. Mountain Marvel is honestly one of my favorite episodes of this season because I just like Peter Sam in this episode. I like how they brought Proteus back, but in statue form. This episode gets an A plus too. Henry Gets It Wrong is a goofy episode, but a sweet, heartwarming one. I like how Henry wants to save the wishing tree, and I like how he has to love his nature, but he was honestly silly. This episode gets a C plus, no higher. Heave Ho Thomas is another one of my favorite episodes of the season. Hank is very unique. I like his voice Michael Brandon gave him in the US dub, and I like his design. He's pretty cool. He's just pretty cool. I did a Thomas and Friends commentaries video of Heave Ho Thomas too, and if you want to watch that video, just go to my YouTube channel. It's really good. This episode gets an A plus. Toby's special surprise is okay. Toby is still whiny, but not really that much. I also like Whiff's inclusion too, and part of Sodor's history. This gets a C plus. It's okay. Excellent Emily is honestly just as good. Emily is pretty good in this episode. I like all the autumn sets. This episode gets an A plus from me. The Party Surprise is another good episode of this season, and this is sadly Freddy's last and final appearance in the show. Before the transition of CGI will hit in season 13, which I'll probably review that sometime soon. Not yet, but soon. And to be honest, Colin isn't really my favorite hitter or newbies that is introduced in this season. He's just boring. He's just there to be there, nothing else. Anyway, it doesn't stop from being a good episode. A. Saved You is a goofy episode. I used to like this episode, and now I hate it. Thomas is an absolute idiot. Not to mention, this is a three strikes formula, which is not done right. Although, I do like how Doc, Donald, Douglas are in this one. But still doesn't save it from being a bad episode. F+. plus. Dogging in a Hot Air Balloon is an okay episode. But I find the idea of transporting a balloon on a flatbed to be silly. This episode just gets a C. James Working Out is one of the best episodes of this season. Not to mention, James and Hector makes a really good team in this episode. I like it. Sadly, this is Hector's last appearance. He deserves more. But at least it ended his story arc there. beautifully. A plus here. Tram Trouble, to be honest, it gets so much hate. This episode gets so much hate. Everyone complains that Flora is not a good hitter or newbie. I can understand. But you would have to admit that she has a pretty design and she's just beautiful. Even though the concept of the Great Western Parade is interesting. But, okay. I'm not gonna rank it any higher or any lower. C plus. Because Flora deserves more love than that. Don't Go Back is another stupid episode. Thomas is dumb. I don't even want to explain this episode. Diesel is a nothing engine in this one. F plus. Gordon Takes a Shortcut is another good episode. All about Gordon. At least Stanley's there. I'll just give it a B plus. The Man, sorry. The Man in the Hills is another good episode I think should get some more love. Although I think Thomas is a little silly. Still good. B. Thomas Put the Brakes On is another boring episode that I just don't care about. And that's why this episode is getting a C+. Nothing to say here. Stanley doesn't do much this episode anyway. Cursing the Bandstand is another boring, bland episode, but at least Lady Hat makes an appearance. Anyway, C+. Push Me Pull You is the worst episode of the season, and it should never existed. Don't even have much to say about this episode other than the crashes are good. And sadly, this is the last narrow gauge engine story, and they just did like this. This is just horrible. Nothing to say. Don't want to talk more. F plus. Even though I used to like this episode, now I hate it. It's the worst. Just an F plus. Best Friends is a sweet ending in this episode, but it could have used a couple more Thomas characters before. But whatever. It's just okay. I like this episode. But, well, it could have used a couple more characters, like in The Great Discovery did. Nothing much to say here, other than it's just sweet and okay. B plus. Well, that's it. That's everything. That's just everything. We have officially wrapped up the model series of the show. Well, almost. Yeah, I only counted the model series in the hit era. I'm sorry if I didn't do the classic seasons of Thomas. I'll eventually get to those soon, in good time, of course. But first, well, maybe when I get to season 14, I'll take a little break from Nitrogen era stuff and just go straight to the the classic seasons. Anyway, the way I describe season 12 is mid for me. Just an alright, okay. Well, there's nothing much to say here, so this is Thomas Boy signing off.